State Capture Commission of Inqury has lifted the lead on a number of alleged corrupt dealings, but the Zondo Commission has encountered several challenges, among them a lack of evidence and witnesses. Questions are also being raised as to whether the Commission will in fact finish its work on time. Justice and Correctional Services Minister Michael Masutha joins us now to discuss these issues. Good evening, Minister. Thanks very much for your time. Well, the Commission was forced to concede the other week that actually it has some serious capacity problems.
Well, obviously the Commission is established by the President and is chaired by the Deputy Judge President. It's completely independent. We, as the Department of Justice, do not play any role in the business of the Commission, save to provide administrative support, including providing a budget for the Commission. As far as I'm aware, the allocated budget to the Commission over the first financial year of its sitting that ended last month was not exhausted, and of course they've come into the new financial year starting the beginning of this month with a new allocation. So as far as the resources are concerned, my understanding is that they are not short of funds.
So you're saying that the Commission has never raised with you an issue of capacity?
Well, last week I think it was.
Was it the first time?
The Chief, no. Last week the Deputy Chief Justice raised the issue of the hiccups the Commission was experiencing in procuring additional legal services. And just to explain the context there, all State Department, and that would include the Commission, would procure external legal services through the State Attorney Act, which is administered by the Office of the State Attorney. Now, there has been challenges relating the procedure that the state procures external legal services raised by the Auditor General, and the Treasury has insisted on compliance with certain procurement procedures, which have been found to create some difficulty for the legal profession given the nature of its operation. But we are currently working closely with Treasury to refine the system that would be acceptable to them as being compliant with procurement. And to that end, I facilitated a meeting between the DG of Justice, the head of the State Attorney, as well as the Deputy Chief Justice to resolve the issue. And there was an agreement of some interim arrangement in terms of which deviation would be sought from Treasury to facilitate the smooth acquisition of additional legal resources that the Commission may require.
So if I hear you correctly, Minister, you were saying the Commission has been a victim of problems that have been there in the past, where the procuring of legal people has been problematic, a problem that was identified by the Auditor General, as a result of which there is a lot more scrutiny now, and as a direct result of that, there are delays in being able to procure the services of legal practitioners.
Yes, this has affected government as a whole, because all government generally, except in a few exceptions, procure external legal services through the State Attorney in terms of the State Attorney Act. And the need to develop a framework which Treasury would find acceptable in line with the provisions of the Constitution dealing with competitive procurement, in terms of the Auditor General's own findings in relation to the system that has existed since 1994, actually. We have been hard at work, working closely with Treasury to refine the system in line. So there has been an impact on various. The other reason really is also to reduce vulnerability of the system to certain improprieties that, as you recall, the SIU proclamation focused on, which was the other factor.
Was it, going back to a question I asked earlier, but was it the first time that the Deputy Chief Justice raised the issue of capacity with you?
As far as I'm aware, prior to that, there had been issues relating to procurement. Firstly, let me indicate that the Commission, upon its establishment, with the recommendation of the Deputy Chief Justice, I appointed a secretary who constituted the secretariat, whose responsibility was to provide, for all intents and purposes, administrative support to the Commission. You may be aware that that secretary has since been suspended by the Commission because of allegations relating to impropriety, which in a sense also links with the area of work of the Commission. There is an acting secretary currently as we speak. Insofar as legal services are concerned, we've already dealt with that. There's been issues of procurement of premises, which is a matter between the Commission and Public Works as the primary, if not the sole, landlord of the state in terms of the renting of premises that the Commission is using. I believe that's since been resolved. The issue of security at the Commission did come up, you'd recall, last year, where Zondo IT apparently purported to enter into an agreement for the provision of security, and that agreement was found to be irregular. My understanding is that currently the police are providing security at the premises until such time as alternative arrangements are made, and of course Zondo IT is no longer featuring at all in that space. So there would have been issues from time to time which the Deputy Chief Justice would have raised with me along the way, and we would identify the solution for that problem and moved on. So that's how we've worked. So.
Speaking of which, Minister, the government was supposed to review all contracts with Bosasa or Bosasa-linked companies. A number of prisons still had valid and running contracts with Bosasa. What is the status of that review?
As we speak, there is no contract whatsoever between the Department of Correctional Services as of the 24th of March, which is running between that department and Bosasa or any of its subsidiaries. The contract that was in place until then related to catering. We, as government collective, came together and established a task team whose purpose was to manage the transition in respect of any outstanding contractual arrangements between any government department or entity and any of the entities of Bosasa, bearing in mind, which is now called Global Operations, bearing in mind that as it is placed under liquidation, essentially what you are now dealing with is the liquidators of a company under liquidation.
Well, you yourself, of course, have come under heavy criticism on the back of allegations, well, revelations maybe one should say, that you once slept in a Watson house. Do you mind telling us what actually happened there?
I think that I made a statement which was fairly simple and straightforward, and I just wonder what more one can add or subtract, because that's just an account of the factual situation, which is that a colleague from Parliament called me and established if I was going to be attending an ANC rally towards the local government elections in PE on that occasion, and I indicated that I had been striving to get there, except for the difficulty of securing accommodation, because my office indicated that places were all booked up. And he indicated that there was accommodation available. Comrades had volunteered their homes because they were aware that there would be challenges for comrades to obtain accommodation. And indeed, I asked him to liaise directly with my office for those arrangements. And I was informed that accommodation had been secured for me. And indeed, I went to PE, and I think I spent a night there. I even thought I spent more than one night, but I'm reminded that apparently I spent a night there. And the following day, when I was about to leave after the rally, I phoned the colleague to convey my gratitude to whoever were the owners of the property. And that's when he indicated that actually they would want that he would rather I conveyed that to them personally, because they would be at the house in the next few minutes. And of course, they arrived, and I expressed my gratitude. And that's when Mr. Watson, I believe he was, raised the issue of concerns that he had about a procurement process that was underway at the Department of Corrections for the renewal of the catering, outsourced catering, contract. And I indicated to him that, look, firstly, I don't deal with tenders at all, which is very true. I've never dealt with any tenders in respect of any of the departments or entities that fall under me. However, I offered him to say if he believed he had a complaint to lodge with my office, let him do so formally, and we'll deal with that as soon as that has happened. Well, nothing came through until the following year, when the department management indicated that, Bosasa was bringing legal action against the department on the same issue, which was the disaggregation of the contract and the lowering of the standards, and the complaint, as I understood it, was that the contract, a portion of the allocation had been awarded to a non-qualifying bidder. And when the department explained the whole objective, which was to disaggregate the whole contract in order to allow other smaller players to come in order to break the monopoly that Bosasa held over there, I thought it was a positive thing. And I said to the department, I would support any defense to such a claim by Bosasa in court.
But it should it have been about breaking a monopoly even, given the fact that these people were found by the SIU more than 10 years ago to have actually been problematic, that there was evidence that they had actually bribed officials. So the state should never have been dealing with them in the first place.
Well, we can talk about why was Bosasa up to that point not been blacklisted.
Let's talk about it, Minister. Why?
Yeah, I had indicated in Parliament when I talked to the matter that in the SIU report, there were specific recommendations that were made. For example, the recommendation that disciplinary action be taken against officials, and that was initiated and officials resigned before that could be accomplished. So, that couldn't go any further.
Now, even more reason you should have closed the tap.
The second recommendation related to criminal investigations, which was forwarded to the NPA. And in that regard, I can indicate that over the past 3 years, starting with at the time of Sean Abrams, and in fact, if not 4 years, I answered a question in Parliament to this end, and that was, I was given assurance at the time that the NPA, as well as the Hawks, had initiated, had resuscitated the investigation and had allocated new people to pursue the matter. I have been following up on this over the past 3-4 years to try and understand what was holding it up. And of course, the last word before the current NPA head from the acting NDPP, Dr. Ramaite, was that the feedback to the NPA from the Hawks was that the audit, the cost of procuring external forensic audit on the matter was prohibitive, and that's why they had not yet pursued the issue, which I found unsatisfactory. And I communicated that much to them, and actually raised the issue of matters of a similar kind, which had been investigated by the SIU and referred to the NPA, in respect of which criminal investigations were not pursued or were alleged not to have been pursued. And I have been following up to get an update report following the interaction between the agencies, the NPA, the Hawks, and the SIU. And of course, even with the current NDPP, that's one of the early assignments that I gave her to pursue the same issue. So the matter continues to be pursued.
To many people, that would perhaps be another indication that indeed the NPA was captured, isn't it?
Well, that is the responsibility of the Commission to establish and recommend appropriate action. I don't want to preempt the work of the Commission.
So you have a view as the
well, I have my own view.
Politically, at least, I have justice in this country.
I have my own view, but I don't want to make informal pronouncements in that manner.
But what is your
There is a commission that is investigating this. I do not want to disrespect that commission by preempting it, by making pronouncements on matters that are the subject of an inquiry by a commission of inquiry established by the President. And I will await the outcome like everybody else.
That's where we're going to leave it, Minister. Thank you very much for coming through this evening. Justice and Correctional Services Minister Michael Masutha.